glad you could make it even though it was dark and scary outside. My name's Bert Hamilton. I'm the chairman of the election board. We've been in existence since 2017 by way of a constitutional convention. So we're very, very happy to be in existence. It's worked real well since we started out. Our election numbers have increased by hundreds. So it's doing its job. My election board here is Ginger McCormick, she's my vice president. Merle Hawkins, who's been many times on election boards in the past, so she knows how good it is to have this election board. Merle is our secretary, and James is Lanos is our everything man. He gets to do everything else. We have one person that's having a miserable time in Hawaii. Her name is Marcy Scudero. So, welcome to our candidates forum. I know it has a lot to do with the ice and snow outside, but we'll have a good time while we're here. So all of you, welcome and good luck to all of you. Ginger McCormick, my vice president.
At this time, we're going to have Merle do a prayer for our introduction.
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. We thank you, Lord, for this time together. We thank you for leadership of our nation and our state and our local officials and our tribe here, Lord. We pray for guidance and wisdom and the decisions that are going to be made in the leadership of our tribe as we go forward to provide the needs of our tribal members. We thank you for being with us and for loving us and forgiving us daily. And smooth, no injuries with this upcoming cold weather, and nobody's pipes freeze and everybody's blessed and gets the help that they need. And we thank you for the tribe that supplies for our so many needs. Amen.
Okay, we're going to start with introduction speeches, starting with Lloyd
How long?
for 5 minutes.
Whoa.
Please pay attention to James Lanos, don't go over time.
What happens if I do?
Clock's running.
Your time's already started.
What I would like to do, though, first of all, is like to do a land acknowledgement. The lands that surround us as part of who we are and reflects our history. Our grandfathers' names are on our lands. We as Haida, Tlingit, Tsimshian people are part of the land and have been since the beginning of time. We need to protect and honor our history and the people that these places and Ketchikan Indian community recognizes the Tlingit and I and the traditional owners of the land that Ketchikan Indian Community Campus resides in the city of Ketchikan. And this land belongs to the Tontaquan, and we want to honor and acknowledge their elders, past, present, and future generations. Hala. Thank you for that, and thank you all for coming tonight. I know it's been pretty miserable out there, and we'd like everybody to be safe. I am Lloyd Guerrero. I am a Haida. I am the son of Deborah Jean Yiltatsi, Haida of the Stutes House, and also the son of Jerry Guerrero Sr. I am employed now, I think I'm going on my 10 years at the City of Ketchikan Wastewater Department, and 11 years for the volunteer Ketchikan Fire Department. I am an IDW 1547 member. I am a current AMB ANS member. I'm really guided by the following statement here, and it always has been part of me as serving Ketchikan Indian community. KIC will continue to work and move forward into the future with its membership and taking pride with ownership and continue the efforts of honor that is built through respect and loyalty. And what I mean by that, I say act, right? Accountability, continuity, and transparency. Now, unfortunately, when I was elected in 2020, it was 10 days after COVID hit. I had a really quick learning curve of being on council, and a lot of hard decisions to make. But I'm grateful for those decisions that I had to make. The accountability, when I talk about that, so with the COVID, we had to go to Zoom land, and like we are on now in Zoom land. And we weren't able to be here in person, and I'd like to take a moment actually to say it's nice to see all your beautiful faces, by the way, and not having a mask on. The accountability comes with actually 4 things I'm going to be talking about. Accountability, continuity, and transparency, and then the last one is S, sovereignty. What does sovereignty mean to you? Accountability is what we all as Indian people account for ourselves. We're proud Indian people. The continuity in our governing is that we need to try and do our best to constantly keep that same wavelength, right? Life goes up and down, but we, as the governing body, try to cushion that for our members and ourselves and our Indian people. So we want to try to cushion that a little bit. Of course, with the transparency, again, like Zoom land, and then ways that council is doing is that we did hire a communication director. We're getting more out on Facebook, social media, as just a channel of information. Now, Facebook is not a forum for debate. I just want to reiterate that. Facebook and social media is great for information gathering. Thanks. When I talk about sovereignty is really huge. I witnessed our sovereignty being attacked just recently in Sacramento by INCSA. And let me just tell you that it was rough. And first of all, thank you so much. I respectfully and humbly request your vote for Lloyd B. Rural.
Lloyd, sound you want to appreciate your land acknowledgement. Randy Williams.
Well, the timekeeper's pretty tough down there.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of our tribal members, by the way. My name is Randy Williams. I want to thank all of our tribal, pardon me? No, I can never be heard. I want to thank all our tribal members for being here today, and I want to congratulate the other candidates for their willingness to serve on our council. Our tribal members will go to the polls soon, and I hope they consider carefully the choices they make when electing individuals who will work for the tribe and the tribal members. I will stand by my voting record and my support for all our tribal members. When we first received our COVID monies, I was I was one of 2 tribal council members who voted no against using it on 306 Main. The other one is sitting in the audience. We felt that was not the right thing for the tribe at that time because we knew the tribal members were hurting. And so we knew we had to share that COVID money with those tribal members. Me and Gloria Burns, who voted no against it, which I thought was a very important vote. Well, that turned out to be true. because the very next night, the tribal members spoke to every one of those council members who voted to fix 306 Main with phone calls, Facebook, and directly, and informed them that the tribal members were hurting because of COVID and needed some relief. The next day we had a special meeting, and our no vote turned into yes votes, and that was the beginning of our COVID relief program. I believe today our tribe is stronger because of the support KIC was able to give all our tribal members during the terrible pandemic of COVID. I believe most council members have the best interest of the tribe in mind, and I will say I never took a vote that I didn't feel would support our tribe and our tribal members. I tried for the past 3 years to get the tribal council to move on the healing center. Is there any tribal member out there who doesn't feel we need to properly address our community's #1 problem, and that is drug and alcohol abuse? Most council members want to see this problem addressed and see our community move forward, but for a few who require more information, I'm not sure how much information we can give them over and over and over, but we do need to make a decision because our people are dying out there, and we need to find that support for them. I believe we should be taking a strong position on our hunting and fishing rights as a tribe. I especially believe this if you see my booth over there, which is a landless booth as well, that if we don't get our land, then we did not participate in the Native Claims Settlement Act. And if we didn't participate in it as a community, we should be able to preserve those fishing rights that were taken from the other communities who did participate in it. We as a tribe need to make sure we start putting all our land in trust, like Clinton Hyde is doing, for economic benefits as well as the cultural preservation of all of our lands. I know we should be spending more money on home repairs for our tribal members. I believe those individuals who own homes, especially the elderly, who can't afford to fix them up, has watched while the home repair program has declined as their need to put in a new roof, fix the siding, stop leaks, and in the ceiling increases every year. So we have to find a way to start supporting that program again. I hope we can find a way to stop calling in every month for prescriptions, and we can develop an automatic refill program. I will continue to work on the cultural education building that will be located on our property by the college. I can make the tribal membership one last promise. I will always vote to support the memberships and the tribe's needs, and I will never obstruct the advancement of KIC for personal reasons. If you find it up in your hearts to vote for me, I will always do my best to support our tribe and our tribal members. Good chiefs, thank you.
Up next we have David Jansen.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and those of you that are joining us on, what is it, some sort of YouTube thing? But anyway, the first time I ran for tribal council was 1988, and then again in 1989. And the first year I didn't get enough votes, and there was only 88 votes, 88 ballots cast. So my first goal was to double participation in the next election. And I accomplished that goal. There were more than 2 times the ballots cast that year because they wanted to get me out of there. But both of those years I was appointed to vacancy from a resignation. And that's how it all started. The first time I joined A and B, next thing I knew I was the president and the delegate. So thanks, Dave. See you later. Come back and tell us how it went. But it's kind of interesting to watch the history of KIC from back then to now, because my mother used to tell me stories about, and Carol Williams told me stories about how KIC was reinstated in the 70s, and they needed one more person to run for the council. Somebody else's name would be on the council, or KIC wouldn't be KIC. We are today, and my mother was one of those people that could just recruit people, kind of runs in the family. But Carol was good enough to run for the council, and KIC was reinstated again in the 70s, and back then I had 9 meetings a year, because we took 3 months off for the summer because of fishing and other things that kept us busy in the summertime. But when I was on the council the first time, we had probably a dozen meetings, and the big deal was the Native Citizen of the Year banquet. And man, that was a big party. People came from all over Alaska to party down at KIC, and that was a big project for the council at the time. So after my second term as an appointed council member, we ended up meeting through the summer because there was so much to do. Things were changing, and it was time to get to work. But a lot of the things the way we did things wasn't quite proper protocol. But we didn't know about protocol, at least I didn't at the time. And we just got things done and didn't have to make apologies because we did the right thing. We just didn't do it quite right. Didn't cross all our T's and dot all our I's. Then in, I think it was 1991, I was the tribal council president, and John Brown told me that tribes have first claim on surplus government property. And for those couple of years before that, I was driving by the clinic property thinking that'd be a perfect place for a clinic. And when he told me that, I just went over to the general manager's office and said, go tell him to sign it over. And he came back and said, well, they have a plan. They have a plan, but tribes get first claim on surplus government property. So that's the way it should be, and it's not. It's written in federal law, and we're watching a piece of property go away out of South Point Higgins. That could be ours, because the law hasn't changed, but somebody has to go down and make a claim and see it through, because that's our property. It always has been our property. They just need to sign it back over to us. Thank you.
Judy?
Thank you, Ginger. My name is Judy Louise Guthrie. Most of you know who I am. I was born in Ketchikan and lived in Metlakatla, Seattle, before moving permanently to Ketchikan in 2009. Can you hear me? My husband Tom Guthrie and I just celebrated our 40th anniversary, and we have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. My parents are Irving and Barbara Hamilton Leask. My grandparents are David and William Leask of Metlakatla and Ed and Leona Hamilton of Hamburg. I'd like to say thank you to all the KIC members who are here in person and those participating by Zoom. Thank you to the KIC Election Board for organizing this candidates forum. And thank you to the incumbents and those members who signed up to be a candidate for the 2023 KIC Tribal Council election. It takes a lot of thought, determination, and support from our family, friends, and acquaintances to put yourself before our membership for them to decide who will serve them best. It has been my honor and privilege to serve on the Tribal Council for the last 4 years, and I look forward to serving on the KIC Tribal Council if that is the wish of our voting membership. I am currently chair of the Enrollment Committee and the Education Committee. I am a member of the Executive Committee, the Our Way of Life Committee, and the Social Services Committee. KIC's strategic plan, which guides our work for the next several years, keeps the council focused on both large projects, small projects, and program operations so that we can be successful in filling the needs of our members. Our work is guided by the needs of our members based on surveys and other methods of gathering information. This takes place throughout the year. Looking towards the future, I look forward to continuing the work on the following projects. The Healing Center. The Healing Center is tentatively scheduled to be built on property that KIC owns 10 miles north of town. There are treatment centers, but our Healing Center will be more than that. It will be based on the values of our people and the staff who will be knowledgeable about our values. In other words, the Healing Center will be a place where every patient will know that we care about them. The other project is the Sina Hit Center. Many of you know that KIC purchased the former Galley restaurant. Initial work has begun to develop the center that will serve as a place of respite for our homeless population here in Ketchikan. It will be a place to grab a cup of coffee, take a shower, wash clothes, and to seek and learn of services that are available at KIC and other agencies in Ketchikan. The other project is the Orton Ranch at Naha. For several years, KIC has looked for a facility that would serve as a place that we could hold our annual culture camp. Orton Ranch at Naha became available, and KIC was fortunate to be able to purchase this property. It would also be available for other KIC events and other non-KIC events. And I think a shout out is due to Council Member Gloria Burns for the hours of work that she has put into this project. The Tribal Council meets throughout the month regarding many other projects and issues, and I look forward to these meetings and making the best decisions that we can. I encourage KIC members to continue participating in our regular monthly meetings and our committee meetings by Zoom when possible. Your input is valuable to us. I also encourage voting age members to come out and vote at the January annual meeting. And the last thing I'd like to say is I would appreciate you considering your vote for me, and I thank you very much.
Up next, we have Cheryl Whiteside Yaisley.
would just like to say thank you to everyone that's here tonight. Thank you to the other incumbents and the election board and actually KIC for all they're doing for our community. I believe that we're a leader in the community. My name is Cheryl Whitesides Yeisley. I was born and raised here in Ketchikan. I am of Aleut descent. My family comes from Akutan. My family lived in the Aleut relocation camp at Ward Lake, 3 Cs, in Ketchikan after being evacuated from the Aleutian Islands in 1942. I graduated from the University of Alaska with a degree in business, a certificate in accounting, and I'm a certified care coordinator and a case manager with came from Boston University, and I'm a small business owner. I'm married, I have 5 children and 4 grandchildren. I worked for KIC for 8 years. I currently work for Community Connections for over 10 years. I have devoted my career in a service capacity. I have 20 years experience in healthcare and human services. I volunteer in our community. Currently, I volunteer with Ketchikan Wellness Coalition with the Peers Task Force. I'm a current AME ANS member. I am the Addicts Mom Lights of Hope host. I've been doing that for 6 years, and if you don't know what that is we get together and we light a candle for either the people that have passed away, people in active addiction, people in recovery, and those that are incarcerated that we love. And so we're going on our 6th year of doing that here in Ketchikan. I am the co-chair of the Southeast Alaska Regional Elder Care Coalition. And some of the things that I bring to the table and reasons why I'm running for tribal council is I support sovereignty. I support exercising our individual and tribal sovereignty in every decision we make as a tribe and as individual natives. Because we have the right and the power to govern ourselves, and I believe that individually we should also be looking at our sovereignty because we're born that way. We're born native, and that comes with that right. It's not something that's taken lightly. I believe in transparency, informing people of all the decisions that we make, whether it's finances, policy making, or new business ventures. Transparency should be exercised in all the things our governance does, and I'm committed to service. I would like to see that we have better veterans health care. Another thing that I would like us to improve upon is youth mental health. I don't know if you're aware, but 60.3% of the youth in Alaska with depression couldn't access care this year, 2022. 60%, 60.3. That's a lot of kids that are depressed after being isolated and away from their peers during COVID. We've seen an increase in depression and anxiety and substance use in kids. I would like to focus on seeing the Healing Center come to fruition with wraparound services, detox, inpatient, outpatient groups, family supports. And one thing we learned when we went to the Spruce tribe is let's be a good neighbor and include our community, not just treat the individuals in our tribe, but those that have contact with our tribe or those loved ones that may not be tribal members. I support our current and past employees. I believe that we should have equal access to care, to KIC programs for everyone. I can tell you that I am not just a yes person, and that sometimes my voice might seem harsh or it might seem loud, and that's not it at all. I just believe that we each have the right to stand up for what we believe in, and I would promise to listen and share your concerns and sit at the table in governance and make decisions based upon your wants and needs, not those of my own. But I especially would like to focus on the Healing Center because I too see our children dying every day. Did you know that someone overdoses and dies either from alcohol, heroin, meth, or other substances every 8 minutes? So we've been here an hour already, and that's a lot of people, you know. A lot of people have died just while we're sitting here talking. And we need to have access to care here at home. We need to stop sending people out of their community and expecting them to come back and be successful. If we provide that treatment here in the community, their loved ones can visit with them, their friends can participate, their family members that aren't tribal members can participate, and they can be with their kids. They can stay here and they're going to have a higher rate of success when they end their treatment, at least inpatient, and we can provide wraparound services. And I also would like to focus on housing. We do have a homelessness problem, and we also have some sober housing that we need. Someone can't get out of rehab and then be expected to go home if part of the family is still using, and they don't have a sober place to go that's safe and that supports them. So thank you very much, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Thanks, Cheryl. Up next, we have Rochelle Pebbles-Hull.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, hi, I'm Rochelle, also known as Pebbles. I am the current chair of the health board. I started in the health board many years ago. I was also the chair of the Dolly Jensen committee for a while. During my time on the health board, I have been able to help in many ways. One of the things that I have always been able to, set my goals by is helping one patient every day. This is one thing that I got when I started working at the hospital. This is what I continue to do now. And this is what I am hoping to do, continuing on into tribal council, is continuing on that, helping one person, helping one patient every day. My goal, of course, is to be on tribal council to focus not only on healthcare as a priority, but also as education, and also on positive leadership. Healthcare, the healthcare of all of our tribal citizens, mental, physical, spiritually, also the education not only of our patients but also of our staff too as well, making sure that our staff are getting the education that they need to better serve our patients, and then also positive leadership not only for our staff, but also for our patients, so they can be positive leaders in our community too as well. And these are a few of the reasons why I'm hoping to be a positive leader to you on the tribal council. Thank you.
Amber Williams Baldwin is being a medical escort tonight. She really wishes she could be here, so I just wanted to speak on that real quick. But up next we have Gianna Sanuka Willard.
Sangai La, Georgiana Douglas, Dinan Uijan, Diane Douglas Willard, Di Au Uijan. Sani Ga Eskan Gianna Willard, Hinu Di Kyang. Galas Gustu Di Kolagan, Ketchikan Stu Uijan. So my grandmother was Georgiana, my grandfather was Julius Douglas. My parents are Diane and Larry Willard. My Haida name is Sanu Ga, which translates to white cloud. My name is Gianna Willard, and I currently sit on the tribal council in the land use and planning chair seat currently. I was able to take care of my grandparents in their last years on this earth, just for full-time elder care, and I got to realize how difficult it was for elders to exist in our community. We really need to extend more of our wraparound services to our people with disabilities and people in need. A lot of things are just really hard and inaccessible. I know everybody knows me from my dance groups. I'm in the Hadas dance group. I'm also in the Sulafanya dance group, the Haida and the Tsimshian dance groups here. I've gone on 14 different canoe journeys in Canada, Washington, and Alaska. I've gotten welcomed into and shown around a lot of different communities, and I've gotten to see how the different communities work. I feel like we should really be getting more into like renewable energy. There's different programs, like Bella Bella has a free store for their community members. They also have things like a welcome home ceremony for the children in foster care, where once a year all of their kids come back to their home community so they get to know where they come from. Just different things from all of the different communities that I think are really important, that I feel like we could really take advantage of here. So a lot of you know about our Sina Hit, or our beacon house, that we're planning on opening as kind of a warming shelter, a day use shelter for our homeless, our houseless people. We are also hoping to break ground soon, pending funding, for a 16-unit Housing First Initiative house for our most vulnerable, for our people that need the most care. And what it'll be, not just a homeless shelter, it'll be like apartments that they will not have to be, kicked out from. They'll wrap around services, so like if they need counseling, they'll get counseling. If they're having a rough time, they'll get the help that they need. So we can take our most vulnerable people and take them off of the streets and give them the dignity that they deserve. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my dad's brother actually froze to death in 2005. And so it's something that's really close to my heart. Something that I really can't wait to see until fruition, because we don't need any more of that kind of heartache. So also, we are working on a rehab center. We've given it off to our business board to work on, and pending a business plan, we hope to have that come into fruition really soon, because we need a rehab and rehabilitation here in our community yesterday. We need it now. We need it for our people. So that's also something that I'm really passionate about. My brother, he passed away from a drug overdose almost 2 years ago. And it's something, it wasn't a new addiction, it was something that he'd been battling with and recovering from for over 10 years. But the problem was, every time he went to rehab, it was away in a different community, and every time he came back, his triggers still existed here. And our community is doing that to people. We're kind of making them bounce back and forth. We need to have services here so our people can get healthy in the home environment that they're going to live in. We don't need to lose any more of our people. Native or non-native, our community members are important to us. My name is Gianna Willard again. I hope everybody is safe in this crazy weather outside. I know it was really treacherous thinking about coming up a hill, and I'm surprised this many people have shown up for our candidates forum, and I thank everybody for coming here. Thank you everybody in Zoom land for logging on and watching. I know there's a lot of things going on this time of year. It's a really difficult, busy time. But Hawa, thank you, and have a good one.
Gianna, son of Willard. So we just went down who was on the ballot for introductions. We're going to start to mix it up. The election board has facilitated some questions for the candidates. Those were amazing introductions. However, these next couple of questions is going to be a fire starter round, so they're only 2 minutes long. And I know you might not want to look at James, but at least pay attention to his hand movements. As soon as he raises, we'll try to keep our movement down over here so you guys can pay attention to the people that showed up today. We're going to start with David Jensen for the first question. And I'll repeat the question every time we pull someone up there, but the question is, please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
I think it's crazy to make people take experimental drugs that are already proven not to work. There's more people dying of COVID that have been vaccinated than those that haven't been vaccinated. So stop it.
Okay, thank you. Up next, we have Judy Lee Guthrie. And I'll repeat the question. Please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
the council and with our vote, we took a vote to go by the rules of the CMS mandate, which required staff to be vaccinated, other requirements such as face masks at certain times. And today I just found out that we no longer have to take the temperature when we go into KIC. We could have opted out to not gone by the guidelines of CMS, but we felt that as a council that it would impact us financially to our detriment, and so we chose to go, and I agree that we made the right choice when we chose to go by the CMS mandate. Thank you.
Committee Cheryl Whiteside-Yaisley. Please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
I've read the CMS mandate, I'm familiar with it. I believe that we should offer medical and religious exemptions. I participated in the NIHB conference this fall, and only 278 tribes, or right around there, of the close to 550 tribes across the United States are following the CMS mandate. Those tribes are offering religious and medical exemptions and finding ways to have a hybrid model for people that are employed at KIC or for their tribes, such as if you don't have direct patient care, working away from patients and not having access and not coming in contact with them, so that the clinic setting can follow the CMS mandate. Staff providing direct care should be following that CMS mandate and wearing the appropriate accommodated gear if they have a religious or medical exemption. But staff that aren't providing the care, I believe, should have the right to choose. And I believe that it behooves us as a tribe to offer those medical and religious exemptions. I think that we've lost some great people here at KIC. Our Haida language instructor, due to this CMS mandate and the COVID-19 vaccinations, and we know that the data has come out and they've told us that it doesn't stop the spread. So getting vaccinated only stops us as an individual from experiencing worse symptoms, but it's been told to us that there was no study done prior, so we know that it doesn't protect others. So, and as you all know, I work in healthcare, I work with elders, and I'm very careful with the people I come in contact with, and I've kept it to a minimum during COVID-19. I also have a medical reason to not be vaccinated, and I'm very open about discussing it. Thank you.
Chief Rochelle Pebbles Hull. Please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
The CMS rules, Tribal Council went by the CMS rules, and I back them up 100%. It was their decision to make, and financially, that was the best decision to make at the time. If we didn't have the funding coming in from Medicare and Medicaid, then we wouldn't have a clinic, unfortunately. So I would back up what they had said. Having a medical, I personally do have a medical exemption from it, but I would still back up Tribal Council in their decision and make it mandatory, just like the CMS mandate had required it.
Gianna Sanuga Willard, please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires the COVID-19 vaccinations.
So us as a tribal council had voted to uphold the CMS mandate. I do agree that medical and religious exemptions should also be upheld as well. I look forward to when the CMS mandates lift and we can welcome our tribal members back into their positions that they previously held. I agree that we, us as healthcare providers, should be vaccinated with the governmental standards, but I also, if there's medical or religious exemptions, they should also be upheld. However.
Lloyd D. Raro, please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
Thank you. That was hours and hours of discussion. I thought it was over, but we're back here. My stance on the vaccination, when I was elected as your elected councilman, this was one of the very hardest decisions that I had to make. Now, I researched my duties as a councilman elected for this body. In the Constitution, it does not say that I'm governing your body to do what you need to do with it. That is not my say. And I still hold that. That is not my say. It's your body, your decision, not mine. And I asked where my biggest fight was, where was the sovereignty in this? We got forced by the federal government with money. So we also have that fiduciary duty as council to try to uphold, and we did uphold the CMS mandate. I was against it, one of two, for the reasons I just told you. But I also respect the current council's decision as a whole, as a majority. Thank you.
Up next, we have Randy Williams. Please explain your stance on the CMS mandate that requires COVID-19 vaccinations.
I think that to counter Lloyd's point, and I don't mean to do that, but I think it's important. Nobody ever tried to tell somebody they had to get the shot. They just said, you have to get the shot to work at KIC. And so that was because of the CMS mandate. That was mandated by the federal government. Now, it was an economic decision as well as a health decision. Because like one of the candidates said, we wouldn't get paid by Medicare or Medicaid if we didn't adhere to that rule. And so the rule dictated how we had to operate. Because we couldn't lose that kind of revenue because we wouldn't be able to provide the services that we provide to tribal members if we lost that money. Now, in terms of vaccinations, I think they were important. I think that nobody knew what was happening with everybody who thought they knew more or knew better. They didn't. It's what we felt was right. I think that in terms of, I got the shots, all of them. I never got COVID. I was one of the lucky ones. And so I saw many people at KIC get COVID, even though they probably had the shots and they were vaccinated. But it was supposed to be a much milder strain because of that. Now, I always felt that it was our responsibility as tribal council members to represent our people and to show our people that we were willing to do what we needed to do to protect all of the tribe. And that meant getting vaccinated. And so that was my position on that. Certainly I think that we have a responsibility as leaders to show tribal members that we were willing to do what we felt was right, and that was to support the health and well-being of the total population of our tribe.
Thank you. Up next, we'll start with Cheryl Whiteside-Geisley, and I'll give you a little reference check. For instance, clothing vouchers are, I think, about $150, but they've been $150 for over 15 years. So this next question is just a reference for that for all the candidates. With the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
Well, with the rising cost of living, I think that in order to make our programs grow, we have to look at sustainable revenue. So if we're talking about outside the clinic and we're talking our BIA programs, like social services and the vouchers that we give for that, and our elder care through the programs that we have, we need to, pick, click, give. With our PFDs, I think we need to look at other grants. We need to find ways to maybe like adopt an elder, adopt a youth, find creative ways to bring money in so that we can provide more to our tribal members. I do think that we could look at our business models and find ways to create business revenue that would work for us. I guess an example to me would be Orton Ranch. I think there's a lot of churches that are still very interested to see if KIC would be willing to rent that at certain times of the year so that they could also have a camp. That might be a way we bring in revenue to make things more sustainable. 25% I think is what AML increased their prices for shipping, and we're seeing that with gallons of milk, with groceries, with clothing, with the cost of living here in Ketchikan, and it's really high. And I think that we do need to be looking at more sustainable ways to bring things in. And then also, if we do a healing center, if we're a good neighbor like the Swedish tribe, and we open it up to the community that have native preference, that's another way that we can make revenue, is have options for our other community members, and it provides support to them, and it also helps our membership. Thank you.
Rochelle Pebbles Hall. With the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
Getting creative, finding other ways of finding income, looking for grants availability. But not only that, but also looking into other forms of income, looking more into the tourist industry, starting to also look into other services available too as well. I do know that there are other different medical clinics, medical procedures, different things that we could bring into our clinic that will also bring in revenue, different specialties, different things like that that we could also bring in. These things will bring in revenue too as well. We could also bring in, like Cheryl said, bring in the non-beneficiaries, like VA patients. We could, not only will that bring in our VA patients, we could also bring in the community VA patients to help our community members. So there's a lot of different ways that we could bring money in, and this would also benefit our community too as well.
Gianna Sanuga Willard. With the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
I would actually try to focus all of our energy on like renewable resource energy. We could have a clinic powered by solar panels, and we know that we could do that. A lot of the funding that the government has is for shovel-ready projects. If we have our things lined up with the schematics and the plan, we can get funding for like a facilities building. We can have all of our things brought out of storage that we pay a monthly payment on, and we can store our own things, like our medical records and things like that. We could, with our rehab center, I hope it's open to the public. I hope it's open for natives and non-natives alike, because everybody should get healthy and everybody deserves to. But once we have that available, we'll be able to bill for those services. In our CNA HIT, if our people need counseling services, we'll be able to bill for those, bill for the wraparound services, getting our people healthy and dignity. Once we start flushing out the projects that we have already lined out, they'll pay us back. They're investments. They're not just us putting out money. Like, these things will come back to us tenfold. We just have to flush them out and get them ready and build them. How that?
Lloyd Ferraro. With with rising costs of living, how could you make our programs grow?
Thank you. 105 lease, currently happening now for our properties. And what I mean by 105 lease is that it's a different program to the federal government where we don't have to negotiate all the time for our properties. One of the biggest things that we actually need to really pay attention to is with our compact, right? Our negotiation of the compact and our rate that we get paid from the healthcare. Council doesn't do that. We don't do that. That gets negotiated by our administration staff. We need to build a good system and foundation so we have that constant good negotiations for getting our payment for having our clinic. On top of that, with all these programs and these shovel-readies, we do have to have some kind of income come from that, right? So we have to offset that. Now what that offset would be KTBC with the Healing Center, 8A, other businesses in Ketchikan or outside of Ketchikan. That's what will help out. But you know what else will help out? The members. You guys. Letting us know. And then you guys coming to work with us and making it better for the tribe. Hello.
Randy Williams, with the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
This time I have to agree with my good friend Lloyd. He did say KTBC. That's the number one issue. We tried to get KTB off the ground for 2.5 years now, and it has been a very difficult process. That's your corporation. That's the tribe's corporation. That's the ability for the tribe to make real revenue so that they can support real programs. If that happens, then we're not as dependent on the federal government any longer. The only other way you can find ways of protecting a program like the food vouchers is to look at all your programs and determine which ones are priority and which ones you may have to cut. Now, I'm not saying that that's a good thing, and it's one thing that we never want to do. However, if the dollars aren't coming in, and the federal dollars are static, meaning that they just stay the same, then eventually the cost of living is going to override those dollars. And so we have to look at prioritizing our programs and making sure that we're providing the best programs for the people who need our support, and that's our tribal members. So that's what we need to look at. Lloyd's right again, and the others are right as well, that we do need tribal member input. We do need tribal people to start telling us sometimes what programs they're not getting and what programs they would like to see. Now, can KIC provide that all the time? No, they can't. But what we can do is prioritize, and that will allow us to continue to move that program forward. Certainly there should be a cost of living factored into that every year when we have those type of programs, because $150 10 years ago definitely doesn't go as far today as it did then. So let's make sure that we start looking at putting inflationary factors into those programs.
David Jensen, with the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
Get more money, or make more money, and that's how we did it back in the 1900s. We got the property for the clinic. We got to build the clinic. That was a blast. 41,000 square feet of the medical clinic, and I got to be the general foreman, and we were still drawing plans as we were building it, and it took I think 14 months, but it turned out pretty good. So that's how we do things to grow things, is to get more stuff and do something that we're not doing now, to do something better. If you want to get something different, you have to do something different. So that's it. Just put everybody to work. And some people are happier with a paycheck than they are with a voucher. And they can help us grow this tribe. Thank you.
We're going to teach Julie Guthrie. With the rising cost of living, how could you make our programs grow?
I think first we need to remember that the $150 clothing voucher has actually been increased by KIC. That was done recently. And I was actually hoping I wasn't the last person to answer all these questions, because the candidates and those running for office said exactly what needs to be done. To kind of use different terms. The three main projects that I talked about when I introduced myself were the Healing Center, the Sina Hit Center, and the Orphan Branch at NAHA. Those, to back up briefly, in the last few months, KTBC has really gone through huge growth, and the KTBC, the Ketchikan Tribal Business Corporation, is actually the for-profit arm of the Ketchikan Indian community. This is where a lot of income will come in. As far as the Healing Center, I believe that it has to be open up to not only KIC members and members of other tribes in this area, but also to the non-native community. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start the next one with Randy Williams. Randy Williams, how would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
That's a good question. I think that it's important that we send out media blasts with our person that does all of our media for us. There's a good program on now called Alaska. I think it's about a news. I don't know if any of you have seen it.
Alaska.
Yeah, but every program has to deal with Indigenous women that have been taken out of their communities. So I think it's important, if you haven't seen that program, just to watch it. I'm not plugging TV, but certainly that they speak to the issue of Indigenous women disappearing from our communities. I think that that's a major problem. I think that's something that we certainly need to address. I think that as much information as we can get out to the public as soon as we can, and that is possible for us to do, I think we need to do that, because we need to make every woman and every young girl and every child informed that there aren't always good people out there, and you have to be cognizant of that, and you have to be careful with that. And I think that that's an important message, especially for our young women. And so that's the kind of message that we need to get out there for our people. Certainly, it's a major problem down south. It's a major problem up north. It's a major problem in our communities. So I think that it's important that we continue to strive for information generation and information dissemination for those individuals that are affected by this terrible, terrible problem. Thank you.
Chief David Jensen, how would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
have no idea. No idea what to do about it. We don't look at all the violence and crime that goes on around us in our own communities. We're not going to admit that we're number one in murder, number one in violence against women, and in the villages and even in Ketchikan, our kids aren't safe. I have foster kids. Got to know one of the mothers, and her mother used to trade her for a bottle of whiskey. Yeah, that's happening right here in Ketchikan. How are you going to fix it?
Thanks, Judy Lee Guthrie. How would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
As a council member and as KIC, we have a behavioral or a social services program that deals with this issue. I think probably every one of us in this room knows someone personally who has died by their gone unknown circumstances. That's what MMIW is, missing and murdered. And it's not just women, it's actually men. I mean, there are at least 2 men that I know of in Ketchikan. And I know one woman from Akella who was found murdered here, but nothing was ever done about any of them. So I believe that our programs are doing the best that they can to deal with this issue. The trafficking of men and young men and women in our community, we just need to keep talking about it. I personally, I just talk about it, but I have to think about what our programs are doing, and they're reaching a whole lot more people than I can. Thank you.
Gonna Cheryl Whitesides Isley. How would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
Sorry. Well, I think that the first thing I want to say is I just want to acknowledge those that we've lost. In the last few years, I have someone close to me that was murdered, that I grew up with, was like a little brother. And I have a family member who was human trafficked. And so I think that we just need to acknowledge that today. And I want to thank Dave for getting up. So some of the things that I would do is we could have a podcast sharing that information and getting it out to as many people in our community, especially something that you can listen to in the car, something that you can listen to on your phone, something that you can listen to at home on your computer is important. Bringing more awareness about domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and substance use disorder, alcoholism. Those things are really important because those are key players in this. And then more events like we had at the city park, more events like we had at Ord Lake. We can't just make it an annual event. We have to make it a monthly event. We have to campaign and we have to bring awareness and we have to be willing to talk about those tough things. And we have to be able to listen to the victims, listen to the survivors, have the people come forward if they're willing and comfortable, and be able to have the courage to stand with them, stand with their families, and talk about it, because people just don't know. Our kids think that you can be on Snapchat and you're in junior high, and there's not someone on the other end that's going to victimize you. They think on Instagram that person's a kid from a high school somewhere else. It's not. It's a perpetrator. It's someone that's going to harm you, and we just need to bring awareness. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Rochelle Pebbles Hall. How would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
I am currently right now involved in the Alaska blanket exercise, which is started with the trauma that starts as children, and it it's kind of like a talking circle that you get together, and it goes through a whole variety of the history of Alaska and all the different tragedies that happened all over Alaska, from smallpox and tuberculosis and everything that has wiped out all the communities and everything. And that's like where it started. Everything started back then, and all this trauma and everything that affected us is still affecting us. And education not only to everybody of what is going on and what is happening to our people, and getting the word out there, but also education to our children, education, what had happened. This is what had happened to your ancestors, but also this is how to prevent it. This is how to change it. This is how to change the future. This is how to stop it. This is how to prevent it. And this is how to make a difference. So that is what I'm also participating in that Alaska Blankets. So.
Gianna Sanuga Willard. How would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
My existence is an act of resistance. I feel like as a brown Native woman in this world, I'm a constant target. I feel like to bring more awareness to the missing and murdered Indigenous women, I've gone on canoe journeys where the whole campaign was to just bring honor, to say their names, to make everybody uncomfortable, just so they know that the places that we go are not always safe places. We need like more visibility, accountability for the police. We've got to put pressure on them and make sure that they're not just blaming the victim. That sometimes the places that we go are not safe, but that shouldn't mean that we're just putting our heads on the chopping block every time. We teach the children while they're young. I know my children are well versed on the missing and murdered Indigenous people, men and women and two-spirited. I'm really close to a few people that they will never find, that have been missing for years. I've been involved in the May 5th campaign at City Park, also the one at Ward Lake. The red handprint on your face, that's a really good way to make it visible. People start to ask questions, so they'll know. A lot of it is just, getting the information out there. Natives and non-natives alike, they need to know that we're aware and they should be aware as well. The town that we live in, although I love it greatly, there's a lot of danger here. There's a lot of people who are unsafe. There's people just wandering around that we know are on the sex offender list. Like, you see them at the mall, you see them at McDonald's, everywhere. So, just to be aware that, it could be anybody. It could, fall off a dock and never be seen again.
Lloyd Raro. How would you raise awareness for murdered and missing Indigenous people?
I wish we didn't have this subject. And what I mean by that is we shouldn't be at this subject as human beings. as a tribe, as indigenous people. We're not that way. And the question is how do I raise the awareness? That awareness starts with me. That goes on to my children, on to my cousins, to my friends, my family, the people that surround me. I absolutely agree with everybody up here, 100%. How do we fix this problem is my question. And that's a really good critical thinking. And my mind starts as with me, with my children, my family, and how do we talk to each other and respect each other and love each other.
Okay, we're gonna start with Gianna Sanuga Willard. Do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
I kind of feel like this question has already been touched on by every single candidate here. The service for our citizens is, of the utmost importance. This is exactly why we're called to duty. Our people are our people. This is the community that we make. We could have more homeless shelters, rehab facilities. We can have more elder services, veteran services, more access for people with disabilities, longer hours in our clinic, more employees, doing more specific jobs and less one employee doing everybody's job. There's a lot of different things that you can touch on for how to get our citizens more. Everything. Let's do everything. How then?
Lloyd B. Aurora. Do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
How to service our citizens, our tribal members? What we do as the governing body is that, like I said before in my introduction, is keeping that accountability, that continuity, and that transparency. Now that continuity with some services, now services may change, they may go down, they may go up in different areas. We never know that, we don't have that crystal ball. But we have a little bit of a peek of that crystal ball. And where that comes from is our members. Letting us know the needs of our tribe. That's why we need to put out a lot of surveys, and we need to know that open communication of the need of the tribe at that moment in time. And then we also have to be realistic too with it. How can we better service that? I want to just reiterate the continuity of services. Now what I mean by that is, I asked earlier, how can we make our tribe better? Is having our tribe work with us and work for us. If our members work for us, that money folds over 30 times. And we are so proud people that it is, we're at 74% tribal members. And I would like to see that number higher. And even if you're not a tribal member, if you work for the tribe, we treat you like a tribal member because you do work for the tribe. And making it better for services when people do work, as myself, I have to keep that realistic and not promise anything. I will do my best for you.
Randy Williams. Do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
I think that it all starts with accountability. And that's accountability by the tribal council. That's accountability by the committees. That's accountability by staff. That's accountability by us as citizens of this tribe. So we all have to be responsible for each other, and we all have to make decisions that will help the tribe. Now, how you do that is, basically we need to, and we touched on this, is economic development. Economic development is key to us being able to provide better services and more services to the tribe, because government dollars, they're pretty static. They stay the same almost year after year. They may go up by a small percentage, but it's really not much to do much more than to help support the staff. So it doesn't necessarily help support programs. And so what we need to do is create that revenue that will help programs. And you do that by your corporation. That's number one. On the accountability side, you have a very hard-working staff at KIC. They work very hard. They put in a lot of hours. I've watched them do this. And so they are always looking for opportunities to create revenue for the tribe and tribal members. So as long as we keep those creative juices going, I think that we're going to be very successful in what we do, and we have been up to this date. So I think that those are the important factors of how we would increase our abilities. And I think that, you know, as long as we stay the course and we all work together, I think we will get there and stay there. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. David Jensen, do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
One thing that I've found to be true is that if you work to make yourself obsolete, you become more valuable. So try to train up the younger ones to do the job that you're doing and do it well, and it just things get done. So basically, just be more productive, and we can do that if we all work together. It's there's a word for it, not coming to me right at the moment, but just to get together, 3 people can do twice as much as 2 people. Just lifting, it's proven fact. So if we all work together, if the council was able to work together with management and management with staff and everybody with the tribal citizens, yeah, it's going to happen. Everything will be better. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Julie Guthrie, do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
I have to speak as a council member and not as an individual about this. I believe that KIC constantly works at improving the kinds of services that they provide to our community. And when I think that KIC actually made a very good decision when we received we'll call them COVID funds. We were very, very thoughtful about the decisions as how to expend those funds or to our individual members, and what funds to set aside for capital projects in the future. So I think actually KIC is doing a very good job of serving its people. Thank you.
Cheryl Whiteside-Yaisley, do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
The first thing that comes to mind to better serve our tribal citizens is we should be focusing on quality versus quantity. Having more stability and longevity and continuity of services that we currently provide to our members, that needs to be our main focus. And I guess I can elaborate by saying less turnover, more Native hires. I agree with David Jensen and Lloyd on what they had to say. Hire members of Native employees, starting with our youth, training up our own. No one knows us better than our own. So when we bring in staff from outside of Ketchikan and hire people that are non-native. We need to be able to teach them what our culture is like and how to treat our people. I think of elders. It's really hard. I had an auntie, she's passed away, and she always yelled at us. Well, she wasn't really yelling, that was her voice. That becomes intimidating for someone who doesn't understand our culture, doesn't understand how our grandmas and grandpas and our great aunts and uncles really spoke. And so they can find that intimidating, and they might think that you're being unruly and you're being hostile and they want you not to come to the clinic. Well, we're kind of chasing people out instead of bringing our people back in. And I think that focusing on the culturally appropriate care and then training our non-tribal member staff on what that looks like by breaking down barriers and removing silos and understanding historical trauma and stop chasing our people away. We want them to come into the clinic. We want them to come in and receive the services that we offer. And so in order to do that, we have to really focus on what we're offering them now and how we can make it better. Thank you.
Rochelle Pebbles Hall, do you have suggestions to better service our citizens?
To better service our citizens. I think we've said, of course, teamwork. The best way, I mean, as a unit, we stand stronger together. So being together, standing as one unit and being strong as a team would be the best thing to do. So that's with in any situation that you come across, whether it's in the healthcare, the economy, anything like that. So I'm thinking if you sorry, that was my phone.
No, you just continue.
It's sorry.
You can just hit stop. Sorry. I make you
So, I think the best way for us, like I said, is to come together as a team. The only way for us to grow would be as a team, but not only that, but would also be for the community and others and staff to let us know what they would like us to do and what they need from us. Not only what we're doing wrong, but also what we're doing right. So if we're doing something right, we don't change that. But if we're doing something wrong, then we can work together to change those things that we're doing wrong.
The candidates are doing absolutely amazing. We only have 2 more questions. Then we'll do our door prizes and of course a breakout session so everyone can get a chance to meet you face to face. We're gonna bring Rochelle Pebbles Hall back up to start with this next question. What makes you think you can help our tribe?
Okay. What makes me think I could help our tribe? Wow. I have a lot of medical experience. I have a lot of education in that realm. I have also been involved in my culture for many years. But not only that, but I've also been in struggles. I've had the struggles that many of us have faced. I am that single mom, that needs assistance, that needs that help. I am the one whose car broke down and is calling my mom for help to pick me up at the side of the road, or calling my dad because I got a flat tire and I need help, It's not just it's not just that. I've been there, and so that is why I feel that I should be here, is because not only because of my education and because of my knowledge and because of my experience and all of that, but also I've been there and I've been through it.
Gianna Sanuga Willard, what makes you think you can help our tribe?
I feel like I bring a unique experience to the table. Having gone on 14 canoe journeys and being welcomed into many communities up and down the coast, I've met with tribal leaders who've shown me the ways that their programs work and don't work for them and their communities. I've seen other clinics. I've seen the Swinomish Rehab Center. I've worked really closely with the chairman of the Swinomish Nation and the previous chairmen of the Swinomish Nation. I have taken care of my grandparents for over 5 years with all of their medications and their health issues, taking them to the doctor's appointments and everything. I can see the holes that we have in our systems and the ways that we can probably fix them. I have 3 children that I've taken care of, and they give me also unique perspectives in life. I take care of my mom and help her through everything. But I think what I bring is mostly a unique perspective. There's different ways that we can solve problems, and I've seen them happen, and I see them in work. In Bella Bella, they have everything lined in solar panels, even though they get just about as much rain as we do here. They found solutions to their problems as small island communities, and I feel like there's things that we can take advantage of from their communities in our community here. However.
Gnachish, Lloyd Ruro, what makes you think you can help our tribe?
First of all, the tribe makes me better. The tribe challenges me to be a better person, to be a better Indian, to be a better Haida. That is my challenge and what makes me better in turns to the tribe. I have experience in this community as a volunteer fireman, city guy. I do things when I build something, as like my first bedroom box there. I like to see that. That's where I get my appreciation. And I have seen in my tenure here, just the 3 years, short years I've seen, is that this tribe has done well for what we have gone through. We have gone through. We have faced a lot in the last 3 years. I don't like saying that I bring something to the table. I like to say we bring something to the table as a collaborative effort. Because I don't do it all. We do it as a tribe. How
Lloyd. Randy Williams, what makes you think you can help our tribe?
Well, what makes me think I could help the tribe? One is I care. I've always cared about the tribe. My whole life has been supporting the tribe and the tribal people. I've worked for other tribes. I worked for Clinton Haida. I worked for KIC. I worked for several tribes down south. When I went down south, it was so that I could learn what special benefits they receive from the federal government that we weren't receiving up here, and how we could make our tribes better. I think I brought that back to Alaska. I'm pretty thoughtful. I don't ever make rash decisions. I try to listen to both sides and then come up with what I think is the best answer for the tribal members, not for me, but for the tribal members. I always worked, with the tribes so that I could find out what unique things that they did for their people. And I've seen a lot of tribes do wonderful, wonderful things for their people. And a lot of that, of course, is because of the economic development. I stress that. because when they developed their casinos down there, that gave them opportunities that we wouldn't even believe that they do for their people. And so I want us to get to that point where we can do those things for our people that don't have the opportunity or the economic development would not understand. And so those are things. I never make rash decisions. I think I'm fair to people all the time. I try to listen. I try to realize that, you know, everybody doesn't have the same benefits that I've had in life. And so those people that haven't had those benefits, you have to be able to understand their needs and their wants. And I think that I do that because I listen to people, I care about people, and,
Time.
oh, I'm sorry.
David Jensen, what makes you think you can help our tribe?
Vision. Our tribal health clinic was a vision that I had years ago, and you could go visit it tomorrow. You could drive by it tonight. And I have things that I'd like to do with the tribe, and things that we could really earn money with, and use some of the property that we have, and build some of the things that we need, and pay ourselves to do it, pay our tribal citizens to do it, and just keep on growing. There's a lot of opportunity, but if we don't do something, it just goes by. There's ideas that I've had that would have been money makers, and then you're watching TV late at night, and there it is. You can buy it on TV. That same thing that popped in your head that one day. So we just need to start doing some of the things, you know, using some of the resources that we have, and build stuff.
Judy Lease Guthrie, what makes you think you can help our tribe?
Well, I think, first of all, being on council for the last 4 years probably shows in some way that I can help our community, our members. I think the other major thing that plays into why I feel I can serve our people is because I saw my dad do it as a council member, and my grandfather doing it as mayor, my uncles doing it as council members, and many other people in my family and in my extended family who we must like this kind of work because we keep doing it. And I have to say what makes me feel I can do it, because I care about the people that I work with. I care about our council members, our staff, the members of our tribe. And I feel that I have enough experience before even coming back to Ketchikan that leads me to be able to feel that I can serve our members well. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl Whiteside Geisley. What makes you think you can help our tribe?
Oh gosh. So I guess I should start with saying that, you know, I was 14 when I found out that I was Native. And, you know, it just wasn't spoken of. My mother was given up for adoption. She was the firstborn. And the circumstances surrounding her mother's pregnancy wasn't spoken about. And I was raised with all of my aunts and uncles and cousins, and no one really talked about them being Native either. My Auntie Faye, she didn't speak the language anymore. She didn't want to talk about it. So I was blessed with being given a chance by becoming an employee of KIC in 2002. Barbara Fields hired me and she mentored me from that time on. And then I was only able to mature and grow and understand what it was to be Native and what it was to be a tribal member from then on. I have experience, 4 years experience on the health board. I'm a worker, I'm a doer. I have 20 years experience in healthcare and human services. I understand people and I'm real. This is my authentic self. I don't wear a different hat or a different face where I go. I'll say the same things. I have a desire to help people, and I also have a history. I have cultural trauma and family trauma that I had to overcome myself. I'm a survivor of sexual assault and domestic violence. And I am a mom of a child who's in recovery, so I understand people and where they come from. And so I feel like those factors I can bring to the table and be real, and I do believe that people want someone real. I think they want someone that can understand them where they're at and love them where they are, and I'm able to do that. Thank you.
Sheesh. Our last question of the night is going to start off with Judy Lease Guthrie. And the question is, what changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacant seat is filled legitimately?
I believe that the ordinance that is on the books now is adequate to fill vacancies on the tribal council. I can't really think of any changes that I would want to make. Yes, thank you.
Sheesh. Cheryl Whiteside-Geisley. What changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacant seat is filled legitimately?
I have to concur with Judy. I'm not sure that any changes to the ordinance is going to make our membership feel that vacant seats are filled legitimately. I do believe that ways to make someone feel that the vacant seats are filled legitimately is really campaigning to get people out and vote. Finding ways to bring people a way to vote. If you are homebound and you need someone to come to your house, whether we bring an iPad and talk to you about what it's like to vote, explaining what the voting process is, giving a better understanding to our general membership of why the ordinance is the way it is, and coming together if there is a need, and that's what the membership wants, is to change the ordinance to read better, then having a workshop and inviting people to the table, because it's not one person's decision, it's collectively someone's voice and someone's opinions. And so, but it has to start with an understanding why the ordinance is there, and people having their own voice. Thank you.
Nakchish. Rochelle Pebbles Hull. What changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacant seat is filled legitimately?
Right now, if there's an open seat, anyone can, if they would like and would want it, can put in. And I truly feel that if anybody is wishing for it, then there's that availability. So I don't feel that there's any way or any need to change it. But if there is strong issues or strong feelings in that, then whoever is feeling that way needs to bring that up. If there are issues or feelings, we are a community and we are our tribe, and everybody has a right to their opinion and their right to their voice. So if there are issues, then they need to be discussed. But right now, I don't see anything wrong with the way it is right now.
Gianna Sanuga Willard. What changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacancy is filled legitimately?
So I am in the fun situation where I got appointed to an open seat because I was lucky enough that Randy Williams stepped down to be our tribal administrator when we were lacking a tribal administrator. The way that the ordinance is written out is that a person from the tribal, the general public of our tribal citizens can put their name in if they qualify, and the tribal council votes on the person that they wish to fill the vacant seat. I think the changes that might be made to make more transparency would be more procedural and less in the ordinance. Like maybe if there was more advertisements out, if it was publicized more places, if there was more video viewership of the process as it was happening, it probably would make people feel like they were more involved in the process. But I don't think that there's any changes currently to the ordinance that could be made. I think everything would be more procedural for the transparency in the opening vacancies.
Lloyd Raro, what changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacancy is filled legitimately?
That question, you know, I'm actually sad to kind of hear that because I hope our membership has trust in us and trust this council and trust future councils. And I think Gianna, everybody actually who's talked before is actually absolutely right about everything. Procedural, more transparency, more communication, but the ordinance is the ordinance. Now, if that ordinance needs to be changed, then the membership needs to tell us that. If they're, procedurally wise, that needs to happen. I hope with the transparency that this council and future councils and past councils already had and built and continue to build on, we will have that transparency which builds trust and accountability. Hala.
Lloyd. Randy Williams, what changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacancy is filled legitimately?
I think the ordinance is appropriate. I think that as long as it says tribal members first, and I think that that we just have to follow that ordinance. I think that that's the key to making a strong tribal preference criteria for employment with the tribe. Because as long as we have that in there, then any manager should not have the right to select anybody but a tribal member as long as they're qualified, minimally qualified for the position. And so, that being said, I think it also, and this is where I have to smack the council once, that they have to set the example. They had and I have nothing against the lady who we hired, but certainly there was a tribal member who was qualified because they interviewed her to become the TA. If that individual is qualified, then whether you like the person or you don't like the person, that individual should have been given the opportunity to become the leader of our tribe. And so if the tribal council doesn't follow that particular ordinance, then I think that how can we expect our people to follow it, or the non-native person who's hiring somebody follow it? So it begins at the top. I think we need to be cognizant of those issues, and we need to follow those issues, whether we like it or not. Sometimes an individual that you may not like personally applies, but you still have to hire that individual if they're qualified and they're the only tribal member that's out there. So that's how I feel about that ordinance. The ordinance itself is adequate as long as we remember that tribal preference matters. Not Alaska preference, not native preference, but tribal preference.
Kanak Randy. David Jensen. What changes could you make to the ordinance to make our citizens feel that a vacant seat is filled legitimately?
Well, feelings is a word that I'm hearing a lot, and they're important. Everybody's feelings are important, but the ordinance is doing its job. And if somebody feels like they didn't get what they wanted, I don't know how to help them. So we just need to apply the law equally, and the native preference, KIC tribal member preference, we need to understand the definition of that, because what Randy was saying is there's a threshold. So if you meet that threshold and you're the top candidate because of tribal preference or native preference, then you get the job, even though there's somebody way up here that came from who knows where. That person that made it, that's native preference, tribal preference. It's pretty simple stuff, but we just need to keep on reminding ourselves, because there's always somebody that wants to redefine the terms. So it's pretty basic, but I agree with the ordinance, and there's only a couple options there, and none of those options make me feel any better. Thank you.
Kunakchish, can we get one more round of applause for all of our candidates and for just putting their names out there for the 2023 elections? You all did absolutely amazing. So we can have the candidates go to their tables, and then we're going to do door prizes. We are doing 6 door prizes at $75. So winner, still getting dinner. And these prizes will be available from the Tribal Council Executive Assistant by next Friday.
After a 2-minute break.
And our first winner is Cindy Taylor.
Yay.
Yay! And our next winner is winner, still getting dinner, is Ashley Coda. Congratulations, Ashley. These are for everyone that's on Zoom and in person. Our next winner is winner, still getting dinner.
Yeah, they did.
Place Claw. Keys Claw. Excuse me.
Natasha.
Natasha Clevenger. Keys Claw. Congratulations. Nathan Corbin.
Shocker!
Yay! Congratulations, Nathan. And our next winner for Not a Silskin Dinner is Kat Carl. Congratulations, Kat. And our last winner for tonight for our door prize, Carly Williams. Carly Williams. Did you remember? Yeah. All right, please enjoy the light refreshments that are located in the hallway. Take your time to go around to the different candidates and go ask them personal questions about their candidacy. There's hot water for tea in the hallway, there's hot coffee. Go socialize for our first in-person candidate forum. First one after COVID.